So long story short, we ended up in a hole of like 20 grand that we nicely dug ourselves, or at least I had dug for ourselves. So we had not much choice, but I had borrowed money from folks to make the event happen, right? So 2004 comes around and I'm like, well, I guess we just have to continue this till we've paid everybody back.
From being $20,000 in the hole to building one of the world's most influential security conferences. I'm your host, Josh Stroshine, and on this episode, we're sitting down with Dhillon Kannabhiran. We're diving into the early days of Hack in the Box, the future of the hacker mindset, and how they built a global community of hackers from the ground up. Let's get started. All right, joining me today is Dhillon. Dhillon, so we got to meet. You are Hack in the Box, and I know that's where we met years ago. I think I was able to come and do a training or something very early on, and then one year I almost got like the full Hack in the Box sweep. I think I was missing China, but I made it to Singapore, Europe, and Dubai. So amazing conference. I'm looking forward to chatting with you about that in just a moment. How about we start with background?
That's all for this episode of Behind the Binary.
A little bit about what got
Thanks
you
so much
into
for tuning
cybersecurity.
in. If you enjoyed the show, please consider subscribing
an
and leaving
amazing
a review. It
early
really helps us to
career
reach new
with
listeners.
Journalism,
Until then,
PC
stay
World,
curious and
ZDNet,
keep exploring.
CNET and all sorts of stuff. So could you just tell everybody about where you started?
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone, and thanks Josh for inviting me to the show.
Yeah.
So basically, I started out, as you said, in the journalism field back in like the early 2000s, and so I'm from Malaysia. For those who don't know, if you don't know where Malaysia is, it's the country that's above Singapore.
Okay.
And so way back in like the early 2000s, we didn't really have much of a hacker scene. Obviously, we knew of events like DEF CON, Black Hat, right? And they were happening in Singapore. But like the big show being DEF CON, right? Everybody wanted to go for that. But we're from Malaysia, and the flight tickets are going to be exorbitant. And then never mind that our currency is like terrible. So buying power to the US dollar is non-existent. So essentially, I said, why not we try and create something similar with Malaysia? And when we announced the plans, this was like in 2002, 2003, like a bunch of guys my friends that were here, they were like, dude, nobody's going to come, man. Like, it's in Malaysia, man. They probably don't even know where the hell it is. But like all good hackers, I said, well, if you never try, you never know. So I just said, well, what's the worst that can happen, right? Like, let's just try it. And so we did. We ran a conference in 2003 in Kuala Lumpur. And at that time, the guys called LSD, the last stage of delirium. They were like the shiz because they had found a 0-day in Windows, which was called the RPC decom, which allowed pretty much like remote code execution without any user interaction. Like this was in early 2000, right? So no DEP, no KSLR and stuff like that. But anyway, we invited LSD, and surprise, they said, yeah, sure, we'll come down. And at the same time, we had folks like HITB that came down and presented. At the time, it was the Metasploit framework. It wasn't even Metasploit, which then became Rapid7. It was just an idea. And he came down and presented that. We had folks like Yop Dihas, and then people like Shirat Shah and Nitish Nanjani. I'm just trying to recall like the names from back then. And yeah, so it started there. We decided to do this event, but foolishly, the first time we did it, we priced everything like so. Obviously, we never done an event before, right? So we needed sponsors, and we saw like how other events are doing it. It's like, oh yeah, they have sponsors. Okay, cool. Let's do the cost. So we did the cost of like how much everything's gonna come up to, flights, hotels, blah blah blah, and we came up with a figure, and we said, okay, so we need whatever X divided by X, this number of sponsors. So we priced all our sponsorship packages like at cost, right? Without thinking that sponsors might ask for freebies, or they might ask for things like discounts, which they did. Obviously, we had more sponsors say like, I'll give you half of the value you're asking for or less, because it's an untested event. It's never been done before. So long story short, we ended up in a hole of like 20 grand that we nicely dug ourselves, or at least I had dug for ourselves. So we had not much choice, but I had borrowed money from folks to make the event happen, right? So 2004 comes around, and I'm like, well, I guess we just have to continue this till we've paid everybody back. So, and the rest is history. 20 something years later, we're still doing it. Of course, everybody got paid back, but we're still doing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's motivation to keep going. So you had a good turnout, though. It sounds like you found the sponsors.
even though there was some
Yeah, so I mean, in the early
created
days,
some deficit, but
yeah, it wasn't so easy to find sponsors in the early days, right? I mean, we're talking like in the early 2000s, 2002, 2003, 4, even up to 2005, right? There were no things like bounty programs, right? So even companies like Microsoft, and most companies, in fact, would only sponsor an event if they had a speaking opportunity, or it was like more marketing stuff, right? And you tread a very thin line if you're talking about any kind of exploits or attacks and stuff like that. Like hackers are viewed as like bad people. uh, and of course Microsoft would send lawyers. You had cease and desist. You didn't get bug bounty programs and stuff like that. So it was in the early days, and yeah, market was different. So it was kind of an uphill battle of trying to convince people why they should sponsor a hackers conference or a security conference, even though the attendees were not in their market, as in they were obviously, hackers are not going to buy your firewall and your F5 product that costs, tens and thousands of dollars, right? But in the end, it ended up being more of like a recruitment, where you would find companies who are looking for skilled people to take a look at their product or, audit their stuff, legitimately, not hack it. And it started there, as in you would find companies going to see the CTF and looking out for strong talent and then offering them opportunities.
Yeah, I think that holds true to today. We're in the midst, at the time that we're recording this, in the midst of Flare On 12, and that's become 12 years running. And I'm not saying that we use it for recruitment, but it's certainly the folks that are our top finishers are certainly strong candidates for any reverse engineering position.
I mean, talent shortage is real problem for everybody. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter which part of the world you're at. Finding skilled individuals is difficult, and then keeping them is another issue. So you've got two sets of problems. You know what I mean? First, how to attract the really talented folks, and then how do you keep them motivated, right?
Okay, so second year, you got to pay some debts. When did you know? Was this Hack in the Box right away? Did you start under that umbrella?
Hack in the Box right away. So pretty much it started out as a website. So news.hitb.org was a website, right? So it was a news website, and it was something like /dot, right? Like so.
Yeah. Gosh, it's been a long time since I thought of that.
Exactly, /dot. Yeah, everybody remember that? Like I don't know if the website's still even up, but I'm guessing it is. So anyway, like /dot, Ars Technica, Tom's Hardware, those were kind of like the websites that we were looking at, and like, oh, those guys are doing hardware reviews and talking about technology, and obviously /dot had a mix of art, science, politics, but it wasn't really a site just purely talking about security stuff. So we decided, we'll start up this news website thing. So like HITB started out as a website, news website in 2000, and it kind of progressed from there. And in 2003, we decided to do a conference, and we called it the HITB Security Conference. So we didn't really start out with a plan of having a conference or building a conference. It just naturally happened. And it just turned around that we had enjoyed doing the conference a lot. So it became kind of like the main thing that we did. Although the news website still was running for quite a number of years.
Yeah. Well, and it's just been amazing. It seems like I guess I don't have the perspective a lot of times. I wonder what conferences are like in other industries, because I know in our space they're a big deal. They draw a lot of attention. They're opportunities to learn and to share and to showcase. And I think probably one of the biggest things in Hack in the Box has been the best for me in my career. I've made so many long-term connections and friendships and relationships out of that persist to today, that it's just been, I don't know, it was profound. I go to DEF CON every year, and it's usually the people I meet at DEF CON are already the people I know. I go to Hack in the Box, and I make new friends or make new connections, and those stick with me for a long time. So it's been great. Definitely a very impactful conference. Hey, what did you learn over the years? Especially, you had Amsterdam, which is an amazing city and location. I know that's no longer a place you offer. Of course, Malaysia, China, Dubai. What did you learn over the years of hosting these conferences, or what were some of the quirky challenges that these different regions offered for you to get the conference there and get the people in, the speakers and the attendees?
Oh man, like I think each region has its own peculiarities and its own kind of challenges. There are some commonalities. I mean, I guess for us, we've always prioritized the content. So sponsor, but they get pretty much branding. And if they want a speaking slot, they need to submit to the CFP like everybody else. You know what I mean? There's no preferential treatment. You just have to go through, because we always prioritize the content, and we don't really look at the name behind it. So I guess partially like what you were saying earlier, that you go to DEF CON and you see usual suspects, folks that you've known for a while, but then you come to Hack in the Box and you meet new people, or people that you might not have heard of before, who are presenting some groundbreaking stuff. So the commonality between all our events, whether it's in Amsterdam or in Dubai or in China or in Singapore or Malaysia, is that we don't set a theme. We just let the CFP and the industry, or at least the research, dictate where the conference is going to be, as in like what kind of event you're going to have. You know what I mean? And I think that's the benefit of not having a forcing kind of like people to conform to a particular team. Like you see a lot of conferences, they have a team, right? Whatever it might be, like AI or reverse engineering or malware, whatever, right? And it's kind of like you kind of expect, okay, all the talks are going to form within this kind of subject matter. But with ours, you have a mix. As in, you have one talk in track A that's deep analysis of some Windows binary, and then in the other track there's something about whatever, machine learning or web application security. And so it's a good mix, and I think that's what kind of like makes it different from other events. In terms of challenges, man, how long is this podcast? We've had our share of like interesting things happen to us. I mean, like even early days, right? 2005. I think it's 2005. Yeah, we decided to do Bahrain. Somebody decided to invite us to go to Bahrain, and us, being early days, foolish hackers, haven't heard of this thing called lawyers. We were like, yeah, sounds good, man. Let's do an event in Bahrain. You know what I mean? Without any contract, nothing in place, just on their word that we trusted them that they would do what they said they were going to do, right? Like hacker ethos, right? If you say you're going to do it, I expect you're going to do it. We rock up like 2 days before the event is supposed to happen, and absolutely nothing is done. Like the hotel is not prepared to host an event. Like nothing is set up, and it was myself and like two or three other guys, and essentially we were like doing everything, from setting up the CTF, setting up the furniture, to obviously getting the registration counter ready, meeting speakers. We did it end to end, and yeah, that was a challenge.
Yeah, I bet.
That was a challenge, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, each country has its own set of problems. Like even early days, Dubai, UAE. I remember somebody saying, how can you have a hackers conference in UAE when hacking doesn't exist in UAE? And I'm like, okay, fair point. But we're talking about the attacks that are coming from outside, right? There might not be hackers within the UAE attacking your own infrastructure, but certainly people outside can do anything they want, right? So yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it is. I've been a part of conferences now for I guess most of my career, and whether I'm just there to hang out. I brought a bunch of students to Hack in the Box Amsterdam one year, and they got to, and that was really neat because not only did they get to help be part of the conference, I emceed one of the tracks, and we're in that old historic stock market building. And they've got carpet in there that's. Don't bring food or drinks in. Why? Well, the carpet in here is several hundred years old. It's like,
exactly. Oh, well. You can't restore it, bro. Don't drop your club mate on it, man.
Yeah, right. And so it's just like, I mean, you just it's situations you wouldn't anticipate going into it. And I know I don't remember what conference I was at. It's been a few years though, but I was offering a training, helping with the training. And we're in this large room, but the folks that set up the tables, they just smashed everybody together. So they were sitting on top of each other. And I went to the conference organizers and I said, hey, could we maybe get the seats moved out, spaced out a little bit? Everybody's really kind of crowded. And they're like, yeah, sorry, it's a union thing. We can't touch anything in that room. Wow. It's set up the way it's set up, and we're just stuck like that. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that kind of sucks. But like the things I wouldn't think about not running the conference. You walk in ready to give a training or ready to take a training, and you're like, hey, the chairs are kind of tight. Let's just space them out a little bit. And you can't do it. So,
that's really weird, man. But yeah, there you go. You know what I mean? Like different challenges in different regions, right? We've never had that problem because we never had an event in North America. So I guess all the countries where they don't have unions, man. It's like, dude, set it up the way we're asking you to set it up. Else, I'll just set it up myself. No big deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
just get it done, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was a union thing. I don't know. They couldn't touch it though. The conference wasn't allowed to touch it. I couldn't touch it. If I started moving things around, I would have got them in trouble, and it was just sort of a weird situation. I get that vibe out of Vegas too. That the folks I know that have done trainings there and conferences and stuff, that there's just it can be a real difficult environment to be in. And I mean, you talk about dollars earlier. Vegas this year was just off the charts expensive. I mean,
Yeah,
I know
bro.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's always a lot, but this year it really stung.
I don't know. I think post COVID, right, the cost of everything has just gone up tremendously, dude. But then again, also it brings up another point of, like, for events, things have evolved greatly, bro. Like, I mean, pre-COVID, uh, people used to attend conferences for a myriad of reasons, right? But essentially, it was kind of like a chance to meet up with folks and obviously get noticed or find new opportunities or showcase your stuff, whatever it might be, right? And post COVID, because now we're so used to doing everything remotely, like even like this podcast, right? Like, we're doing it remotely, right? Normally, it would have been we will sit down in a conference in a room or whatever and record it. People are kind of judging conferences differently, as in, like, why should I attend? I mean, number one, it's going to cost me a lot more, cost wise, right? Like, flight tickets are much more expensive than they were pre 2020, for example. Hotels are also much more expensive, but then how you value your time has also changed dramatically. Like, time away from home and, like, time on the road, like how many hours you're going to spend getting to the venue, and you're kind of like, do I really want to go? I can watch the talks on YouTube after the fact, you know what I mean? Like, so it really, the value for the attendee, I think, has shifted somewhat. Maybe not dramatically, but it's definitely shifted. And I think for most event organizers that I've been speaking to, everybody has seen a drop off, as in, like, either in terms of just general overall attendee numbers, or just enthusiasm. The younger generation just doesn't see the value as like what we did. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I sound like an old guy complaining about the good old days, but yeah, pretty much that's what I'm saying. It's not like what it used to be. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's. I was going to ask you, where do you think the future is? Because it does feel different. It absolutely, after pandemic era and the making the virtual, and I know a lot of people have very strong opinions about virtual, for and against, and
Yeah.
but it does feel very different. And when we were just talking about, when I reflect on my career, I've had some very pivotal moments, and they've all come from conferences. The network that has
Yeah.
enabled my career growth, I think, is largely from the people that I was able to really connect with through these conferences. And again, hack in the box, and not trying to blow smoke, but it just turned out to be so profound for me. And then, even, it's funny, one of the first trainings I ever took was the Mandiant Flare training at
Right.
Black Hat in 2014 or 15.
Mhm.
And I did terrible. I hadn't looked at assembly in years. But it set the stage. It really finally, like, helped me to crystallize where I was at in the whole reverse engineering spectrum and where I needed to go if I wanted to pursue it.
Right.
And I just had to sit down for a couple of days with some structured, guided help. And you can get that virtually, but it just seems like it's more of it's harder to find those sort of relationships, and kind of, I wouldn't say I got any mentorship per se, but certainly the relationships and the trainings are great, because that is it's kind of like a mentorship thing. It's a laid out path of, here's the stuff we think you need to know to do this, in this case, do this job. So
Yeah.
so, I mean, do you think there's going to be any, I suppose you have a generation now that kind of missed out on that scene, because travel
Exactly.
was just crushed for a handful of years, and
Yeah.
now it's
I
so
mean, we have
prohibitive.
students that graduated remotely, bro. Like, they
Yeah.
didn't have a graduation ceremony,
Right.
and then some of them even had remote classes for quite a length of time. And then now they've entered the job market where essentially most folks have a choice of whether they want to go into an office or not, even though companies want everybody else to go back to work like how it was before. You have the flexibility now. Like, you don't really have to, work on site. You can choose to work when you want. You can be on demand. You can be a bug bounty hunter. You can be completely independent. You don't even have to work for a company. It's quite different from how it was before, as in you had to work your way up and then move roles, and eventually maybe you'll end up in wherever you want to go, Google or Facebook, whatever it might be, right? Those days are gone, man. Right now you can have a day job in country A and a night job in a different time zone, and it's completely fine. It's up to you whether you want to do it or not. And you look at the younger generation as well, as in like they're not staying in roles as long as they used to. You find it quite common that people work in a job for whatever 6 months or something like that, and then they move on to something else. And we used to frown on that. You know what I mean? Like as recruiters or as company owners, whatever, you look at somebody's resume and you're like, dude, this guy is like jumping jobs every couple of months. There's no stability. Like I probably wouldn't hire him. But right now it's
Right.
like, that's just the way it is, dude.
Right. Yeah.
So, get with the program,
Yeah, I know. I've been thinking about that in I've been with Google now for 3 years, a little over. And I actually crossed my mind. I'm like, gosh, I've been here for 3 years. Should I change? Do I need to change roles just because what does that say about me if I'm in the same position for more than 3 years?
Yeah.
It's weird because I mean, it's the longevity is just, I mean, I've always felt that in tech. And that's another thing I found in my career, that a lot of my moves have come from being proactive and changing companies and changing positions and changing and not waiting for the company to recognize and provide those opportunities for me. So I guess it's good, if you're aggressive and you're finding your career growth, and it's like you said, it's certainly more acceptable now to have that resume that has a lot of job change. So it's just part of the game.
I mean, even if you look at from bug bounty hunting, right? Like making $1 million doesn't seem as rare anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm a bug bounty hunter and I've just in a year I managed to go for phone to own and then find a couple of other programs to join, I probably made more than enough. You know what I mean? Like, which job is going to pay you $1 million? Take home. You know what I mean? Like. None, right? Like, and this is on your own time. You get to decide when you want to fuzz your stuff and when you want to work on something. Nobody's dictating anything to you, and how you spend your time is your decision. Those kind of folks, like you're going to be hard to try and get them to join your company. You know what I mean? They might join your project.
Yeah,
They're
right.
not going to join your company, bro. They're not going to sign up. You know what I mean?
If you're finding that kind of success, I mean, there's something really alluring of that.
And so, I mean,
that independence, of really just being able to call your own shots, do your own schedule, and if you're pulling in that kind of income to allow yourself just to relax.
Exactly.
I know bug bounty hunting is not easy work.
It's not. But I mean, that's my point is that the younger generation now has this added flexibility which we didn't have, right? Like either it wasn't acceptable or the technology just wasn't where it needed to be. As in, internet proliferation wasn't that deep and the speeds were not that great. Like certainly trying to do a podcast remotely in like I don't know mid 2000s. Like good luck with that, bro. There was like what apps were there? You know what I mean? Right. And good luck with the internet. You probably had Skype. That's about it. But if you're a young guy, you're just starting out, right? Like the world is literally your oyster. You don't have to do a traditional path of like get a job and do the 9 to 5 stuff. It's there if you want it, or you can just, if you have the grit and determination, and as all good hackers you should, you can pretty much just work on your own thing in your own time, whatever's interesting for you. You know what I mean? And especially in today's with AI and where things are going, it's like super exciting, man. So many options, you know what I mean? There's so many things you can do that are not it's not something you're going to learn in school. You know what I mean? Like the general like just the way at the pace of AI, no universities are going to be able to keep up with that, man. There are new models almost every single day, right? And the state of the art is constantly moving, but it's a great area to be in because it's like web application security in the 90s. It's like the early days, right?
Right. Yeah, I know. I had a conversation with somebody about that not too long ago, and that's what that was kind of my takeaway. I'm like, gosh, this kind of feels like we've gone back to the early days of web security, and
Which is cool, right? I mean, that's cool.
yeah,
That's
it
cool.
is. It's neat, and it's so profound. I mean, where AI, just the amount of usage I know in my own personal life across the board is just phenomenal. I find myself using it all the time,
Yeah,
and
same.
it's helped. I mean, it's not. It's I know how it works. I know well enough of how it works
Exactly.
to know where it's not going to do well. I don't. I'm teaching a class this fall. Hey, you know what? I can kind of tell when students are submitting answers that got spit out of an LLM
Right.
because
Yeah.
it sounds like an LLM. It
Sounds
reads
like
like
exactly.
an LLM spit it out. But I guess so on AI. Where do you think? Where do you? What is the most exciting element about AI and the developments there that you see just in the future? I don't know, across the board, I guess. I mean, there's so many different applications. Is there any like one area that I know you're working in Web3? Is there anything that just is, I guess,
Yeah, I
the
mean,
most forward looking thing that you're the thing you're looking forward to the most?
obviously AGI.
AGI, yeah.
like every other good AI bro, right? I'm waiting for the AGI. But no, I mean, seriously, I would say the agentic nature of AI is quite interesting because we're starting to see actual real results come out of an agentic system. So like I'm talking like things like Xbow, right? Xbow. Like it's number one now on HackerOne leaderboard. So it's an AI, right? Like it's a whatever agentic system with specialized agents that one specializes in fuzzing, for example. One specializes in finding targets, whatever it might be, reconnaissance, DNS, that kind of stuff, right? And I'm interested in that mainly because the sheer amount of code that is being generated either by vibe coders or just generally the code that we need to audit, right? It's getting to be unwieldy, and we as humans obviously can't process that much, and so having an agentic system where it would go out and kind of like keep an eye on stuff and start finding stuff for you, and you're just more of an orchestrator. That's super interesting. You know what I mean? Because I don't think, the days of hand built exploits and finding 0 days by hand. I think they're over. You know what I mean? Even fuzzers evolved, right? Like we had fuzzers come along to help us find where possible injection points might be. I mean, it used to be where you had to manually test those that code. Now you have fuzzers, right? And then this, I would say, is just an evolution of that. But it's an interesting evolution nonetheless, and it's moving so quickly. So if you're a new guy starting out, right, like, and you're like well into reverse engineering, you should be looking at how AI can help you be a better reverse engineer rather than saying like, I don't want to do the AI stuff. It's not for me. You know what I mean? Because everything's going to be AI at some point. And probably just the executive decisions are going to be made by a person. But the fundamental core deep down technicalities of it is probably not going to be exposed to you.
AI in reversing in particular is there's a great help there. It's kind of like it's like the next evolution of the decompiler.
Yeah.
And that you still can't trust it 100% yet. I think it's going to get there, of course. And so you still have to understand. You have to know how to coax it. You have to know how to prompt it. You have to know how to get it to look at the things that you want, interpret the results. You need to be able to verify at times, but it can greatly enhance and speed things up. And
Exactly. So I mean, I think there's
going to.
opportunities in two areas. Obviously, one from the use of the AI in order to help you uncover new stuff, but at the same time, there's also the security of the model itself, as in prompt injection, right? Is what I'm talking about, and making the model do stuff that it's not quote unquote designed to do. So there's two areas you can look at. I mean, from a security standpoint, obviously you can use the tool to help you build something else, or just even look at the security of the models themselves, because a lot of these startups are kind of like pushing the models out and pushing things out as quickly as possible because the race is a race, right? So, and that's where usually a lot of problems happen, right? And then we talk about Web3, and smart contracts are compiled code that's deployed onto the chain, and you have to pay for the gas to get the smart contract executed. So if there's a logic flaw in that, it actually costs quite a fair bit to fix. And so those kind of vulnerabilities sometimes are not so obvious. As in, if you're just looking at a smart contract by hand, you might not notice like timing conditions, race conditions, nuanced logic flows of like negative balances and stuff to do with the smart contract. Like it only executes upon a certain set of criteria being met. Those are the kind of things that I think AI would be good at. You know, like kind of analyzing the smart contracts and looking down more at the subtle timing flaws that you might not jump out at you.
So I guess what is, maybe for anyone who doesn't know, like what is the Web3 technology, and like how are folks using things like smart contracts on a regular basis? Is it a lot of it for transferring cryptocurrency funds, or is it much broader than that?
Well, I mean, obviously the one that everybody knows is Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, right.
It's either you had some and then you're now regretting that you didn't buy it when it was, when you could buy a pizza with it.
Yeah.
And then now it's like it's just too expensive, and then even mining and stuff like that's what everybody knows, right? Like Bitcoin, Ethereum, right? Like, but there are a lot of companies that are actually already building solutions, stuff that's like decentralized architecture, cryptography stuff, real financial real financial uses. But I don't think it hasn't reached like widespread adoption yet, but it's coming. It's just a natural evolution, like IPv6.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on that.
Yeah, exactly. I know, but it's coming. You know what I mean? It just might not happen in the time that you want it to. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that people are building on Web3, but essentially, it's still less public facing and more behind the scenes. And of course, governments are always trying to find some way to use it for tokenization of records and kind of like rights to access, like who access what information, and when you do single sign-ons and you need to send your credit, like for example, you have like a national ID, and then when the tax department needs access, they only need access to certain portions of your financial records, not all of it. And likewise, when banks do KYC, so those are the times that like having a blockchain tokenized smart contract kind of a thing makes sense, because it's like fully auditable, it's immutable, so nobody can say like, and of course like the smart contract executes based on the access controls that you've set. So there's lots of benefits to it. But then again, it's like, could you just achieve the same thing with a database? You know what I mean? It's like, dude, there's this thing called RLS, right? Like, doesn't that do the same thing, right? Yes and no, I mean, so there are certain use cases where the problem can be solved much simply, like with Postgres or whatever, with a database. And there are times where a smart contract would make sense. But
do you see, this is like conversations I've had on and off throughout the years, and you look at companies like Google that have built search engines and a lot of products around other people's data. AIs now are definitely consuming a lot of other people's data. I mean, is there a model that's ever going to allow us to like control or monetize or somehow be more at the center point of how we want our data utilized? Behavioral data, travel data, I don't know what exactly, but just like all the stuff that's out there. Or am I way behind and it's already being done?
I think it's kind of like, if you're putting stuff online, just consider that it's going to be used in some way that you might not be thrilled with, like training models, for example, right? Like we have this whole issue of like, so for music, we're talking about, let's just talk about music for now, right? Like the art form of melodies and chord progressions and stuff. There's been so many cases of where like Ed Sheeran had to defend like why his song sounds like this other song. He's saying no, it doesn't, because of whatever, right? Like this minor little chord inversion that I've done. And then you have AI tools like Suno, which are spitting out full on ready mixed produced music with all instrumentation, vocals, and you are writing the lyrics, but then again, the lyrics could have been generated by ChatGPT, whatever, right? And then you have AI models like singing the song, and then what about those copyrights, right? And then where did they train their model on? Like, how the hell did Suno build what they built?
Yeah, right.
Right. I mean, they might say like, yeah, we trained it on classical music that's no longer copyrighted. Like, yeah, partially probably, but like, definitely it feels like the output that's coming out is like it's been trained on Spotify. You know what I mean? It's been
Right.
trained on real music, right? Like by real artists. And so yeah, I mean, I think anything you put online at some form, in some way or form, is probably going to be used to train a model, right? If it's your photos, it's going to be trained for object detection. If it's your text, it's going to be trained for LLMs. And if it's your music, it's going to be training Suno.
Yeah. I listened to something the other day, and it was some music artists, and they were, I guess maybe they're taking an angle I haven't quite heard, but they were trying to get their voice and their style so that other artists could use it, and then just pay them of course, pay them the
Exactly.
royalties,
Exactly.
and that just broadens their reach then. And then, you know, they're like, I guess I don't remember who this artist was. I pick up random things to listen to a lot.
Yeah.
But they're like, you know, you still can't replace the in-person experience, at least not yet. So there's
Of like
still a lot of
concerts
that.
and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
but even then,
yeah.
when you look at like just pick any festival or music thing, right? Like with DJs who are not playing instruments, right? They are literally playing other people's music, right? Yet everybody in the audience, what are they doing? Having their phones held up, watching this guy play some CDs, some MP3s. It's like,
Right.
man, like, sorry. I mean, you should be there to be enjoying the music and like, you know, the atmosphere, but no, everybody's kind of like watching this guy literally press some buttons on some CDJs and subtly mix two tracks together. What's going on? The DJ is not actually supposed to be the center of the show, right? Like, I mean, it's the music, right, and the people that you are with, and that entire vibe, which cannot be lived through your phone, but everybody's kind of there just to collect the Instagram. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
To say I was there. So how they're consuming the content is also like, you know, if you had I don't know, Elon Musk, Tesla robot at some point DJing, probably people will go and watch that show, man. Like, you know what I mean? Just to be
Right.
able to get it on their Instagram, right? Like record some video of this robot DJing some music, and it doesn't really matter whether it's good or not, but the people will still go for it anyway.
It's true, because I know I find recording with kids, I record the kids stuff, and
Mhm.
I always feel disconnected when I'm trying to record them doing something, as if I'm not there living it with them.
Yeah.
I'm observing it through this camera, and it creates this separation between me being present and me being present through this device. And I don't like it. I don't like to record. I like to have the videos, although now I have 30,000 photos and videos of my kids. I'm never going to go through all that stuff
Exactly.
anyway.
Yeah.
So I've really toned it down over the years. What I like to record. Now we're talking about music, and you produce music.
Yeah.
When did you get into music? Did you?
Say again.
When did you get into making music?
When I get
what was
into it, I would say it was like okay. I've always been into music, and I was like, you know, dabbling with production in the digital audio workstation called Ableton back in like when it was Ableton version 7 or something like that. So like a long time ago. And I guess strangely, a lot of hackers are actually DJs because music is very mathematical. At least electronic dance music is very mathematical, right? Everything is in like
Yep.
beats of 4, and then so you have bars and, you know, whatever, 1632 bars, something must happen. Every 8 bars something must change. So it's a very mathematical thing. And like techno definitely is super computer music, man. Like, right? It's programmed 16th note hi-hat, you know, driving bass line. Like, it's not hard to kind of like program that. And in fact, a lot of early dance music was programmed like on the Commodore 64, right? So you would have pretty much hackers which were making music. So I've always been interested in kind of like DJing, electronic sound music, and music production kind of thing. But I guess I really got more into it during COVID. I guess like a lot of other people, we had a lot of free time. So I took up hydroponic gardening.
Okay.
And I got back into music production and DJing a little bit more. I got into it like a bit more seriously, and like, you know, got signed to labels and blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, this is quite cool, man. Maybe I'll quit my day job and like, you know, become a music producer. And like, and then I woke up and kind of like, nah, I think I'll still stick with doing conferences. But yeah,
so still a hobby then?
it's still a hobby. It's still a hobby, definitely 100%. And it's still something I enjoy. I mean, I haven't really done much production this year. Last year, I think I put out a track a month, almost, something like that.
Oh wow. Okay.
This year,
Where do you like produce them or publish them?
I normally I put it up on Spotify. I mean, I'm on Spotify, but
Okay.
I've got like there are different platforms for different things. So like SoundCloud for any of my tracks that are like idea stage, not really ready to be released. Spotify is stuff that's signed to labels, and then the label normally distributes it. And then Mixcloud for like DJ mixes and stuff. So I have a radio show as well, which I do once a month for this UK radio station. So things like that. Like, yeah, it's just fun, man. It's just something to do.
How do you get started? Say I want to start making music. Do you have to have? I'm guessing you have to have some. Well, I don't know. Do you have to have a level of talent, or can
No,
you
man.
just, if it's mathematical, can you
No,
just
you
start
don't
like,
have any talent at all. Honestly,
no?
honestly, no. You just have to have an idea, and I mean, if you can play a musical instrument, obviously that would help tremendously. But like, if you just download like Ableton, which is like my preferred audio workstation, um, there are loads of tutorials online about how to use it. But essentially, it's like a music production software, right? So you have like tracks of audio, like whether they're drums or instruments or whatever it might be, and you're literally recording into a timeline, a loop, and you arrange that loop out into a track. But yeah, I mean, it really depends on whether um, you're into it, you know what I mean? Because like anything else, it takes practice, right? Like with get good at anything, you need to spend time with it. Um, but yeah, I would say if you have some, inner musician that wants to come out, yeah, go for it, man. And especially like now with things like Suno and all of this AI music creation stuff, there's actually you can actually create, like, let's just say you're a you're a lyricist, so you write lyrics, so you can't sing it, you're not a singer, but you write song lyrics, and you like to be able to write your lyrics out and have somebody sing it. Well, things like Suno would help you with that, and you can literally prompt your way to a song, and all you did was just provide the lyrics, and then just dictate the mood, the tempo, the what instrumentation might be in it, whether the vocalist is male, female, and yeah, iterate from there. Because Suno has this new version 5, has this like iterative model where you can literally edit certain parts of it, and you can have it do almost the entire song for you, or you can um, you know work together with it. There's this thing called Suno Studio where you can record your own audio in, and then it will supplement it with drums, for example, like whatever's missing to fill out the track. So yeah, I mean, like, do you need skill? No, you just need to be able to prompt. And that's about it, and have an idea. And whatever sounds good to you, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, you when as artists, you normally say, you write the music for yourself. You don't write it for anybody else. Like, you can't determine what people may or may not like, what will or will not resonate with them. So uh, don't create music or art for others, because it's for you. As long as it's something that makes you happy, great, do it. You know what I mean? Put it out there.
I've oftentimes thought I like spending time out in the woods and the mountains, and every once in a while I'll go by. I'll actually get to a really quiet spot where there's just you can't hear other human activity.
Yeah.
And there might be a creek or a stream or something, and it's like, I should
Record
record 20
Yeah.
minutes of this, put it
Yeah.
on a loop, upload it to YouTube, and then I'll have millions of listeners and viewers.
You probably would, because there's like this
Versus,
whole category of music to study to, or like there's
yeah,
playlist for it where it's just literally ambient. So forest sounds, waves, whatever. And those playlists have millions of listeners. So if you're an artist trying to monetize, that's a whole other thing. Like, can you actually make money from being a musician? Not really. So you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna make a couple of bucks at most. Can buy
Yeah.
yourself a cup of coffee maybe, but you spend thousands on your equipment. Never mind the hours that you spend in the quote unquote studio making stuff, and the time and energy spent putting into it. And then if you're trying to do it for money, like, yeah, you might as well just record like some forest music or forest sounds, upload that, and you probably make a lot more.
Right.
And you have
I know.
zero effort needed.
It's interesting, I guess, and I think that at the end of the day, I feel that same with the content I create. I'm not a musician, but I like talking about technical things, and
Right.
YouTube is my primary places to put content, and I guess this too, like this podcast. I mean, I hope people enjoy it, but I don't know how to ensure people enjoy it. So I just approach this and say, hey, I want to have a conversation and we're going to talk, and I'm going to hopefully enjoy the conversation. Then by extension, everybody else
Yeah,
will.
exactly. And I
So
think that's a great way to approach it, bro. And about, like, I go to conferences and, some young guys will be asking me, like, where should I start? As in from security, right? How do I get into this industry? Like, what should I work on? And I'm like, well, whatever's interesting to you, man. Like, and you just put it out there. You know what I mean? Like, write a blog post, record a video, whatever. Even if it might not seem groundbreaking, because you've been working on it for such a long time, you don't think it's that important. You're like, man, this is so simple. Everybody knows this. There are a lot of people who don't know what you know, and so yeah, just put the content out there, man. Like, record a video, write a blog post, whatever it is, right? Like, record a podcast, and let it be, man. Just put it out there, right? Just contribute. It's not your job to worry about whether people will like it or not. Um, yeah, don't overthink it.
I think that's great advice. You don't overthink it. And I mean, you may not find the audience you're after, but I guess that's just part of the growing process. You'll pivot, learn, and kind of press on. I know something that is another part of that hacker ethos is just the persistence. And
Exactly. Yeah, they're never giving up.
Yeah, you got to be persistent. So
yeah, 100%.
Well, I guess maybe shifting gears a little bit, we're talking about getting yourself out there. I know you've got a lot of different projects that if you go searching for Dhillon and Hack in the Box, and you'll find all sorts of great stuff. One of the more recent ones is your CFP directory.
Oh.
I got signed up. I'm curious. Yeah, what is the inspiration? I mean, maybe we start from square one. Like, can you give everybody insight into what it is and where they can find it, and then what is the goal? Like, what are you hoping to, the gap you're hoping to fill with this platform?
All right. So so it's called CFP directory. CFP.directory is the URL. Essentially, it's a dual purpose platform. So on one hand, it's a platform for speakers to have their profiles, so all their past talks and any kind of stuff that they've worked on. Like, think of it as like LinkedIn for speakers, right? So you can kind of upload your bio and kind of show off, like, your speaking experience. And then the second, in the same platform as well, there's a tool for organizers to list their events and also manage their call for papers. So why we built this is mainly after 20 something years of running Hack in the Box. Like, I would say CFP, like getting submissions, and kind of managing those submissions and reviewing the submissions, takes up a good chunk of time if you want to build a proper conference. Like for Hack in the Box, like, I'm sure Black Hat the ratio is like 100 times more probably, but for Hack in the Box, like, we have like a dual track conference over 2 days, so that's like, I don't know, say 24 speakers in total. So 12 speakers per day, 6 per track, something like that. So you have 24 speaking slots, right? And we would get something like 20-1 ratio. So 20 submissions to every one slot. So which means you have like 400 something talks that you need to review now. You know what I mean? And so managing those 400 talks, communications between you and the speaker. Sometimes you want clarification on, like, what's this talk about, or are you going to release a tool, like some follow-up questions. Traditionally, you would need to go and, like, get their email, write to them, hopefully they read the email, or try and reach out to them on LinkedIn, and like all of that creates extra friction. And you, as a conference organizer, have a lot of other things to do as well, right? Like finding sponsors to pay for this massive hole that you dug. But at the same time, you don't want to just take the easy way out and just say, like, whatever talks are fine, right? You want to create quality content, or you want to curate the quality content. So CFP directory is a platform to help organizers streamline their CFP. So there's like a centralized platform. And then for speakers, it makes it easier because you can write your talk outline and submit it to multiple event CFPs, and then keep track of those individually. So it's just kind of like a one place that you go to see whether your talk to conference A has been shortlisted or not. And it just makes it easier for you to kind of like keep track of what's going on. But obviously, the platform only works if there are events signed up, and so it's still early days. I think right now we have like about 200 something users on the platform. Quite a number of speakers have signed up, including yourself, obviously. And we've run CFP. So we started it out for our own event. So our own out of the box event. We started the CFP for that, and we ran that first. And then we've just completed the CFP for Code Blue. For AV Tokyo. That's happening in November in Tokyo. So they're one of the first events to run the CFP on our platform. And then we also have Typhoon Con, which is happening next year. So their CFP is also open. But yeah, the hope is that next year more events would list their, or at least try running their CFP through the platform, see how it works. Hope it adds some value for them. But
Yeah,
like I said,
how
right,
would
I mean,
you?
I built it for my own use basically, right? So for out of the box, and it was just kind of like, well, I always hear from other events, hey, what CFP platform are you using? And I think a lot of people are using pre-talks or something like that, pre-TALX, right? Which is just like self-hosted platform, but that's fine. But uh, speakers still need to register to like 10 different event platforms, you know what I mean? Like for 10 different conferences, which is like a pain, right? Wouldn't it just be easier if everybody just kind of lists their CFP on one spot and speakers can just submit from there? It just creates it's win-win for everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. I've been a part of submitting workshops and trainings. That's the normal thing I submit.
Mhm.
Talks a little less, much less frequently, but still, it's just such a. It is. It's a lot. It's actually a lot of overhead. If anybody hasn't done it before, especially multiple conferences or multiple submissions, training submissions tend to be really and I mean appropriately so, but they want a lot of information. What does
Yeah,
your outline look like? Give me some sample slides. Give me some of
exactly.
this. Give me some of that. We want a short description, a long description. There's just a lot of information that you have to have ready to go. And I mean, you think, okay, well, yeah, that's all just part of having the training put together, but still, oftentimes you're putting it in a format that's a little bit different. You're trying to sell it a little bit more to the
Yeah,
conference,
exactly.
and then you get weird stuff. Like Black Hat still has they have their call for trainings, and it's just you provide us with a detailed outline of your training, but then it's just a free form text box, and so you've
Ah,
got no formatting, and you can't do the bulleted list, and indentation is you got to go and manually indent, and so then this becomes this extra 20 minutes of
yeah.
formatting, and it's just little things like that it really adds up, and so I really love the idea of a platform that I can like can all that information into and then like selectively spit it back out and just make it easier because
Yeah, and
it does. It seems like a problem that we should be able to solve as an industry by now.
it's, yeah, strange it hasn't already been solved. And I mean, the thing is that well, also I'm thinking of adding in the ability for you to export. So it's kind of like you write in your talk abstract and stuff, and then you can just export it as different formats, which is then like easier for you to cut and paste it into something else. You know what I mean? Like if you need to submit it to some other event, so it's kind of like use it as like your, like I said, like your LinkedIn for speaking or training or whatever. So you add all of your materials in there, and then if other event organizers are looking for that, they can find you on the platform as well, and they can reach out to you directly. So we allow organizers to message speakers, for example, to invite them to submit, or invite them to whatever, right, to come and do a training or something like that. And so yeah, with the hope is that the platform will help folks spend their time more wisely. But also for event organizers, just having a central platform where everything is there, and you can kind of like rate the submissions. You can invite your review board in. Everything's just like transparent. You have internal messaging, you have external facing messaging, so stuff that's like the speaker can see, and you have internal discussion for only visible to you and your review board. Like all of the stuff that we've over the years at Hang in the Box have had to kind of like develop ourselves in order to make it easier for us to shortlist the talks, and even like communication with the speaker. Like having a centralized messaging platform is much better than having like an email thread that you have to go through, because now it's centralized. Anybody else in your team can see those messages as well, so they can kind of see what are we missing. Like this guy hasn't uploaded his slides. Okay, fine, we need the slides. You know what I mean? Like it's easier for somebody else in your team to kind of follow up because it's all tracked. So it's not like, oh, it's in my inbox, let me forward it over to you, or like, oh, I have his contact details, you don't, like, so can you help me reach? It's those small things that are going to take up 20 minutes of your time, which you could have better spent, whatever, doing something else, making music.
Right, yeah, thinking, yeah, right. Did you ever? I guess kind of in the same vein. Then did you ever run into, or have you ever run into not getting the submissions that you were hoping to?
What do you mean?
Not enough submissions.
Oh,
So
not
you
enough
said
submissions. Sometimes it's not to say that we don't have enough submissions. It's like a lot of the submissions have overlap, and that's a problem. So you have like like especially now with AI stuff, right? You'll have like 10 talks that are about LLM and like jailbreaking or prompt injection. So now it's a question of which of these 10 talks do you like out of the 10, which one is the most the coolest, right? And that's relative, right? What's interesting to you might not be so interesting to me. So, but essentially, you can't have 10 talks on the same subject, right?
Right.
So you might end up with like a couple of empty slots or slots that, you don't have enough content to fill it. Not because there's not enough content. It's just mainly you would repeat the content. So what do we do in those cases is we will handpick or hand invite speakers. So, but those occasions are quite rare. As in, normally for Hang in the Box, we would only invite the keynote. So those would be like, we don't expect keynoters to submit a CFP. Like Bruce Schneier ain't going to submit a CFP, man. You
Right.
invite Bruce Schneier, man. Bruce Schneier don't submit no CFP. So, I mean, yeah, I'm joking, but yeah, essentially, we outreach to like people like Miko Hipponen or Bruce Schneier, like the folks that would be worthy of a keynote. We would invite them,
Yeah.
and then everybody else submits CFP. Usually, we will not run out of content. We will normally have too much, and then it becomes of like, should we add another track?
Yeah. Okay.
Or we sometimes end up telling speakers like, okay, we don't have enough space in whatever Amsterdam, so but our next event after that is going to be Singapore or Bangkok or something like that. Do you mind moving your talk from Amsterdam to Bangkok or to Singapore? And of course, in the meantime, should that same talk be selected elsewhere, the only thing we ask is that you save something for us. So we don't stop you from presenting quote unquote the same talk, but just at least keep 20% difference, so that it's not an exact repeat. Even though geographically it might be happening in two different parts of the world, like North America and Asia, there's still this thing called YouTube. So,
Yeah.
if the
Right.
exact same talk is already can be seen, where's the value for the attendee, right?
What's the next event?
When's the
for
next
you
event?
guys?
Next year in Jakarta. So most likely around the middle of April, we will do an out of the box event. So yeah, we didn't really talk about that, but basically, so we have Hack in the Box, which is like the big show that we normally do, and then we started out a new event called Out of the Box, which is slightly smaller in the sense that we normally run for a day single track or 2 days single track. Um, and the main reasoning is, as you said, like for attendees, right? Like it's not so much about the talks or the stuff that you're going to see, but mainly who else is going and who are you going to meet. So the interactions, audience interaction, and the networking opportunities, we prioritize that more. So we and it's obviously like I'd rather meet 10 people that have a common interest with me than 100 people that have nothing in common with. So we kind of like, we thought having a slightly smaller event with fewer speakers gives a chance for the audience to actually have one-on-one time with the speakers. So like, for example, our speakers dinner, normally as an attendee, you can't come for that, mainly because the conference is like whatever, 1,000 people. So
Right.
it would be like no restaurant can fit. But now it's a little bit more manageable. We have like 12 speakers or 10 speakers and probably about like 150 attendees, so we can host kind of like a networking session where the speakers can be there as well, and everybody gets a chance to kind of interact with them and hang out. And it's much more informal, and yeah, I guess you have better friendships, build better connections, because you actually get to spend more quality time with each other rather than just passing by 5 minutes.
Yeah, we talked about that enough. For anybody who's listening and hasn't gone to a conference outside of Black Hat DEF CON, those are certainly great events, and there's a lot of positives and pros to go there. But if you haven't done a smaller conference, definitely need to get that on your list. And being able to get to conferences that are outside of the U.S., if you're U.S. based, and vice versa, if you're located in other places, I think that's also been, we share a lot of commonality across the globe. And
Yeah,
going to
exactly.
these conferences is just such a great way to build a network and to see how others are perspectives and the cultural changes. And it's just a great opportunity. So
Yeah.
That sounds okay. That sounds amazing. So early spring 2026, out of the box.
Out of the box, Jakarta. Yeah, middle of April.
Jakarta. Okay.
And then
Okay.
Bangkok towards the end of August.
Okay.
So,
okay. And then Hack in the Box, when's the next?
So Hack in the Box.
Are you?
Yeah. So basically, we don't have much time, but I'll just cover it really quickly. Like essentially, we sold the brand to the UAE government in 2018. So anything that happens, Hack in the Box still happens in the UAE in Abu Dhabi. We're planning for something next year, probably a Cyber Week event in November, which will have our usual Pro CTF where we invite like the top 10 teams from CTF time to compete for like 100 grand. And it'll be like the large, huge 5,000 people Hack in the Box type event. That will happen in Abu Dhabi, most likely in November. But essentially, everything that happens outside of the UAE, we call it out of the box. So think of the box of UAE.
I know. Yeah. Okay. I was just gonna ask you, what's the connection? What's the difference?
Yeah. Why the name change? Right. Like number one, format difference. But also because they own the brand, so they choose that anything that happens within the UAE can use the HITB brand. Anything outside, we call it something else.
Okay. Well, I guess this is old news. I thought I knew, but I didn't.
Ago.
I didn't know.
7 years ago now, in fact. Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'm in that part of life, I guess, where the years are just clicking by.
Yeah,
like crazy,
tell me about it, man. And it's just all mushed into one. Like somebody was,
right.
Hey, do you remember this event from this particular year? I'm like, was it that year? Wasn't it like this other year? And they're like, no, man, it was that year, man. I'm like, oh, okay.
Great. Well, Dhillon, it's been awesome to get a chance to talk to you and just to hear more, and a lot of questions I know I've had for years. And usually when I see you, it's at a conference and it's in passing, and you're always busy.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to pull you aside and say, hey, I'd like to sit down for 20 minutes and talk about the history of Hack in the Box. So thank you for taking the time and just providing all this insight. And final words, anything that you'd like to end the podcast on, the floor is yours.
Well, mainly just thanks for having me, man. Like, it's still nice that people remember us fondly and have good memories of the time that they went to Hack in the Box, and like, interesting things happen. And yeah, just really thanks a lot for thinking of me. Really appreciate the time that you've taken also to chat with me.
Same here. Thank you so much for all that you've done and all the opportunities you've created and the time that you spent today. So I think with that, we'll call it an episode.
All right, brother. Take care, man. Speak to you soon.
And that's all for this episode of Behind the Binary. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. It really helps us to reach new listeners. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring.